All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Lasting Learning Podcast. Super glad that you are here today, and I am super glad that I am here today because today I get to meet a guest really for the first time that I don't know a lot about other than what I see on my phone. This is going to sound really creepy, but I've kind of stalked our guest for a little while through social media, but I know a lot of you have as well. But today I'm going to dig a little deeper and try to find out if our guest is really just like she is on Instagram and social media. A lot of you know her as simply Miss Curtis from Miss Curtis's Classroom. Today, we've got Courtney joining us from Southern Ohio. And it takes a lot for me to bring somebody from Ohio onto this podcast. So Courtney, you better bring it today. Thank you for being here, though.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, Courtney, there might be a couple of people out there that for some reason don't know who you are, don't know how it's possible, but it is possible. Do you mind just explaining yourself to the world?
Sure. So my name's Courtney Curtis, but recently I got married, so now it's Courtney Plute. But on the internet, I still go by Miss Curtis, and in my classroom, I still go by Miss Curtis, just because it's easier, and that's what my kids from last year know me as. So I figured that was easier. But this year I am teaching second grade math and science at a public school. It's my second year at that school, and then before that I taught third grade at a charter school. And before that I taught kindergarten, but I didn't like the kindergarten, so moved on up. And yeah, I'm teaching second grade math and science this year, and currently teaching math and science online.
Wow, that's awesome. So early L, I've got 4 kids of my own, and I can tell you flat out, I could never, ever, ever teach early elementary. And my background when I was a teacher was in middle school classrooms. I know a lot of people say I could never teach middle school, but middle school is easy. You're just dealing with hormones and hair. Early elementary, it's snot and shoelaces. I could not deal with that, but you love it.
I do. I don't know. I feel the same way about how you said it's the opposite. I don't think I could teach middle school because my school is a K-12 school. So we walk through the middle school hallway like to go to specials, and I just couldn't do it. I mean, they're in there like bumping to their music, and the teachers are like, "Get in here!" And I'm like, "Boys and girls, keep walking." It's a different world. It really is.
Wow, but you truly do love what you do. I mean, it's evident. Or you are a phenomenal actress, one or the other. But I'm going to say that you truly do love it. Is that accurate?
Yes, I do.
You say this year you're doing second grade, but you've done quite a bit throughout early elementary. But you're departmentalized as well in second grade. Math and science, kind of your wheelhouse, right?
Yeah. I don't think I could do the English language arts part of it. I have a teaching partner who I'm very close with, and I'm glad she does it. But sometimes the kids will be doing her work in my classroom, and they'll ask me a question, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna focus on math and science because I don't even know some of the stuff they're learning. I'm like, I could never do it. I don't know the difference between all those nouns, verbs, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, keep that for her classroom.
The fact that you're willing to admit that too, second grade. I mean, it's real. And there are a lot of people right now listening that are thinking, wow, that I'm experiencing that right now as well. There are parents everywhere that are realizing how hard school is, no matter what grade level it is. But math and science, talk to me about how that works in a second grade classroom. You are a lover of all things STEM. So how does that work with the little guys?
So in my classroom, I have like math curriculum that they give me, and I still use it, but it's just not as exciting for me, and it's not as exciting for them. So in my classroom, I have kids who, they don't want to come to school, which is sad in the second grade, but it's just the reality of it. So I try and use STEM to kind of make my math lessons more exciting for them. So for example, if we're learning about like graphing or measurement, I try and bring in that STEM aspect of like building or engineering, designing. So we'll read a book about a little engineer or something, and then they'll get to build and then measure it or graph it or something like that, just because the math book, I mean, as much as I want to say it's like great and exciting, it's not fun for them. And I think it's much easier to relate building and something they can do with their hands, and then get them excited about it, and then kind of like squish the math in at the end and be like, surprise, like here's some math too.
Tricked you, yeah. You didn't know you were learning.
Like, wait a minute. But it works for me, so.
How many years have you been teaching?
This is my third year with my own classroom, but
Okay. So from the get-go, when you first started 3 years ago, did you know that's what you wanted to do? That you wanted to
um,
kind of break away from the traditional mold, or have you just come into your comfort zone now?
I kind of tried it my first year, but I wouldn't say that I was like good at it. Like I had the STEM bins, I kind of was like hopping on that train, and I used a lot of like resources online, but I wasn't like I didn't know why I liked it so much, I guess. Like I did it because I'm like, oh, other people are doing this, but I think now I realize why I like it like more than I did then, I guess.
Yeah, I get that because it is kind of the trendy thing, the
Yeah.
cool thing to do, not just to be the rebel and go against the textbooks and curriculum, but to bring STEM and project-based learning into the classroom. And
Yeah.
you've taken a lot of your ideas and you have brought them to people outside of your classroom as well. I mean, you are huge on Teacher Pay Teacher and Instagram and Amazon. I mean, everywhere. Where did that come from? Why did you start, I don't want to say branding yourself, but realizing that you had something to offer others?
I actually get that question quite often, and the reality of it is I made an account to follow like other teachers and get their ideas. So, on Instagram, I had like my personal account, and I would follow all these teachers, and then I would never see what my friends post because I would see all this like teaching stuff. And I got really annoyed one day, so I just created a teacher account, and I just followed all the teachers so that I could see all their ideas in one spot. And I didn't post anything for the whole first year. And then I would take pictures of my kids or of like crafts and stuff that I came up with, and I didn't know where to post them. So I started posting them on this page, and honestly, it just kind of grew, and people liked it. And I kind of realized like, wow, I guess I could be just like these other teachers that I follow on Instagram.
Right.
And I started sharing them on Teachers Pay Teachers, and it took a lot of work. Trust me, like they were not pretty at first, but slowly I kind of learned how to do the different things. And if you go back to like the very beginning of my Instagram, it's rough. Like the pictures are not pretty, and some of the stuff I did with my kids, I'm like, why did I do that? But I think over time it kind of just grew. I don't know.
What is the magic? Because your pictures, you say they're pretty pictures. I mean, they are polished. It looks like everything is amazing. And I can only imagine teaching second grade. Things are not always as perfect and pretty as they look in the pictures.
Yeah.
But somehow you're able to capture that. What is the magic? Is it just a lot of prep ahead of time, or a lot of prayer during the practice?
I think a little bit of both, but
Okay.
yeah, definitely. I held down the camera button, and it just like takes about a billion, and then I go back and go through because I mean, as a teacher, you don't really have time to like stage it and be like, no, you look this way and you look this way. So a lot of what you see on Instagram is afterwards. Like if the kids go to specials, are like, I'll set their work down and like take a nice picture of it or something, because people say that all the time. They say, wow, I wish I could do this with my kids, but they wouldn't sit still or whatever. And I'm like, oh, trust me. I took a picture of the child who wrote their name really nice and neat and, took their time. It's not every child's work that looks like that.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you acknowledge that, because I think sometimes, regardless of the platform, we see these people on social media, and we do start to get envious or jealous or whatever word we want to use. I almost said verb or adjective or adverb, but I know you wouldn't have known the difference. So whatever word you want to use for that, and we start to compare our situation to theirs, and we use that as an excuse to say, I'm just going to give up because I could never achieve their level, whether it's teaching or celebrity status or athletics. So why do you post so much now? Do you feel like you are an inspiration to others?
Yeah, I do like seeing what other people do. So I feel like if I like seeing what they want to do, then maybe they like seeing what I do. Like sometimes I take a picture or I post a video and I'm like, I don't even know I just posted that. It actually happened yesterday. I went to Walmart and found some new STEM toys, and I posted it and I almost deleted it. I'm like, I look silly. And somebody said, I love seeing all your STEM finds. Keep sharing. And I was like, how random, on all days. So I guess there's so many people out there that want to see it. So I just keep posting, hoping that maybe it's reaching somebody. I don't know.
Well, and I would say it is. I mean, I'm looking right now, close to 32,000 followers that are looking at your pictures, and your pictures aren't like you posing with the beach behind you. I mean, it's STEM activities and STEM kits and classrooms, and the fact that there are 32,000 people that get inspired by seeing pictures of classroom supplies. I mean, just think about that concept. That's bizarre. it's crazy, but you have captured something. And the idea that you are able to inspire people across the country, across the world, by taking pictures of supplies. But it triggers people to come up with their own creative energy, sort of like what you were doing early on. You said, I was just trying to follow everybody else and steal their ideas.
Right.
Where do you get your ideas from now?
Um, hmm. Well, a lot of them come from, like, you've seen the room transformations that I do, like regular themes. So a lot of them will come from movies that I watch, or like when we went to Disney World, or just different places I go. And a lot of it comes from when I'm shopping, which my husband hates because I'm like, wow, I could do something really cool with this. And I just buy it before I even come up with the activity. So I could be walking through Target and just see like a Toy Story theme, and then I kind of pick like a standard or like a topic in my head, and it would be like measurement, for example. That's what I did for Toy Story. And then once I get home, I like Pinterest a bunch of stuff from Toy Story, and it kind of just comes to you, honestly. Like, you see the Slinky dog and you're like, oh, that could be measurement because you're seeing how long it goes. I don't know. My brain is just like all over the place, but it just comes to me. I don't know.
It's the field of dreams. If you build it, it will come. You go out and get the stuff, and then you can start coming up with the ideas. But you mentioned your trip to Disney, room transformations. I know last year, I think it was 2019, you had the opportunity to go to Get Your Teach On. Is that correct? And the people in charge of Get Your Teach On are some of my heroes as well. Why did you go?
Well, I went because I saw it all over on, well, obviously it's like a big hype on Instagram, but a lot of the things that people had shared, like I know that Amy Lemons is one of the people on there, and I use a lot of the resources that she makes on Teachers Pay Teachers. So knowing that she was presenting, and then Chris, he has a lot of resources like his Pizza Planet for Toy Story. I think I used that one year. So knowing that like all the people who made those things, and like I want to be like them, I want to be able to make stuff like that. It kind of inspired me to go. I want to see them speak in real life. I want to be able to like see them, because it's kind of funny like that we think of them as celebrities. They're just teachers, but I want to meet them. I want to talk to them.
But we do, and I'll be honest. So that's one of the reasons I reached out to you and said, hey, can we just connect? Because there's something cool about connecting with the real person and realizing, wow, they are a real person. And then also hearing the story of, but it also takes a lot of work to be that real person. It's easy for me to look at the work that you do and say, it just comes naturally to her. This is just a gift. She's this artistic, creative person. But then to hear, I don't really like second grade English. And this is hard. It's hard to come up with these ideas. The easy way to teach these days is to grab a book, grab the worksheets, and just plow through test prep. But you're taking a hard approach, and you're killing it. Do you feel yourself succeeding?
Yes and no. I mean, there will be days, like, for example, for a room transformation, I spend all this time coming up with the Toy Story theme. We stay after school and we decorate, and the kids come in first thing and are always like amazed. They walk in and they're like, this is so cool. And I think that's one of the reasons I do it, seeing those expressions, or seeing the kid pass through the hallway like, well, I want to be in that class or something, like that makes you feel good. But then, you hand out the work, and you have the kids who are just playing with the materials, or they'll still get in fist fights even during room transformations. It's not all like that it's hyped up to be. I obviously don't post that, but I think some days you feel defeated when you spend all that time on something like that, and you feel like the kids aren't actually learning, or they aren't trying. So yes and no. Like, some days I 100% think that the room transformations are worth it, and I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I did that. And then other days it's like a total flop.
It's like preparing for Christmas, and you've got all these amazing things under the tree. The kids wake up early, they see it, and they open it up, and they're like, oh, but it's socks. You're like, man, but I worked so hard on this. The socks are important,
One of my kids said that one time. They were so excited. They had these like sunglasses on for the rock star theme. And then I passed out some of the centers, and one of the kids said, are we doing work today? And I was like, yep, that's why we're here. That's what this is. It's not just a party, but it made me laugh, because they were like, wait a minute. Like, I thought this was
That's awesome. Do you have other people that maybe don't think that what you're doing is valuable? Do you have other people that either vocally or passively say, oh, but it's just a show, you're just doing this for social media, or anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, I have people at my school who like they'll joke about it. I don't know if they're serious or not, but I mean, there's some of my friends too. So some people will be like, oh, like the Instagram thing's getting to you, or just silly things like that. But then I also have teachers who I think maybe I don't know if they're jealous, but they just don't want to spend the time doing it, and they'll say things like, why do you do that? Because they just destroy your stuff anyways, or these kids are so low that they don't even appreciate it. I don't know, random things, but I guess I try not to let it get to me anymore.
So what is the answer to that? Why do you do it?
Well, what I tell them is I like doing it. I get more excited, like the days that I wake up and I know I have a room transformation or I have a fun activity plan, it's easier for me to get out of bed and go to school. I don't want to get up every morning and go to school either, but if I know that I'm doing something fun, then I'm more likely to get out of bed in the morning with a good attitude.
So you said, the kids will destroy it, and these kids are so low. And when you introduced yourself, you said that you teach at a public school. Can you describe your school for those people that might not know?
Yeah. So I teach at a school. It's really small, so like it's not really a district. Like I guess it is a district, but it's just that one school, and it's a K-12 school. There's only 2 classes per grade. So for K-12, it's like 500 kids, and it used to be a really like wealthy area, and like way back in the day, like when the water and like the boats were coming through. Because there's a bunch of factories and stuff, and over time it's just like a bunch of worn out factories, and it's just kind of like a rundown area. So a lot of our kids, actually 100% of our kids are on free and reduced lunch, and living with like trauma and just all sorts of things. So it's very diverse. We have all sorts of races and religions, and we actually have a lot of ESL kids. So like some of my kids speak Fluani, and some of my kids obviously speak Spanish. And last year I had another student, I don't honestly even know what language he spoke, but it's a very, very diverse place.
I think it's important for people to recognize that this is the kind of place that we're talking about, because I'm sure there are people out there that think, I could never do something like this in my school because my kids wouldn't understand, or they wouldn't get it, or I don't have the resources, or I can't afford to do something like that in my building or in my classroom. But I mean, you're doing this on a shoestring budget. You're not going out there spending millions of dollars on these room transformations, right?
Right. No, I have people that say that to me all the time, but a lot of the stuff I get from Dollar Tree, or I'll make it out of like paper from school. I use donor shoes to post some projects, but yeah, no, I definitely just keep things. I'm a hoarder. So if you were to like look in my garage, it's just like bins of all these random things. I do not spend a ton of money.
And that's the beauty of working with kids, because kids have amazing imaginations.
Yeah.
I thinking about my own kids. I've got a 7-year-old boy who sleeps on the top bunk of a bunk bed, and to him that's a fighter jet. He puts little paper out there and little wings, and he looks out the window and he's flying a fighter jet every day. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, you're playing in your bed. And in his mind, no, I'm flying an F-18. I'm a Blue Angel fighter pilot. And you can do that same thing with your second graders and truly take them to this world that they don't know exists. And I would almost argue that it's your responsibility as a teacher in a school like that to show the kids a world that they wouldn't necessarily see if they didn't have you.
Right.
Do you feel a responsibility to go big? Now, I mean, I jokingly said you have a stage name. You're Miss Curtis. Do you feel a responsibility now that you're supposed to have all these epic lessons? You're supposed to have all these epic room transformations because it's your new identity?
Yes and no. Like at school, I definitely feel like, I don't know, I always want to, it's more in my own head, I guess. Like I always want to do better than I did last year. The kids know, like they've been in the school now. So like when I got one of my kids this year, he was like, my brother told me that you always do parties in your classroom. And I'm like, not parties. And he's like, you turn them into different themes. And I'm like, yeah. So like they already know that that's going to happen. So if I don't do it, then it's like, I don't know. But I think it's more in my own head. Like I want to do all these cool things, and I like being creative. So I don't think anyone else is like judging me if I don't do it, but I like doing it.
I love that. I mean, so often I'm a building administrator, district administrator as well. And I know that I've been guilty of telling teachers, you have to have your personality on display. You've got to find your own passion. You've got to go do it. But then on the flip side, I say, but you have to live within this box. You have to follow the pacing guide. You have to follow the curriculum. You have to follow the script. But I want you to be you. And
Right.
oftentimes those two worlds don't mesh. I love the fact that you're saying, no, I'm creative. I like artistic stuff. That I'm doing this for me and my kids will benefit. I mean, it's the epitome of putting yourself on display for the betterment of your kids. So kudos to you for recognizing that. I don't know if you want to go here or not. You can just take a free pass, but administration, parents, are they all good with what you're doing?
Yeah. We don't have like a ton of parent interaction or stuff like that. I know like a few of my kids will go home and tell their parents, and the parents might say something like when they see me randomly, I don't know. But I think administration likes it. They will come and take pictures and put it on like our school Twitter and stuff like that. Or I had a board member stop by one day and he was like, "Are you the teacher that does all those themes?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess that's me." But I think they like it, and it hasn't hurt anyone if that's
Right.
I guess that's how I'm looking at it. So
That's cool. So throughout all of this, I know we talk about picture perfect classrooms and picture perfect experiences. There had to have been some epic failures along the way. Do you have
yeah.
any that like stand out?
I would say my first year, my classroom was not pretty at all. It was like they had that like maroon carpet and all my desks were uneven. So I had like some really tall ones and some really short ones that were like wobbly. And so I feel like anytime I tried to do anything at that school, like I would cover it with paper, the tables, but the first kid would like move the desk and they would like rip down the middle. And anytime I hung anything up, I had a student with special needs who would usually rip it down. So, I mean, it's not always pretty, but as long as I get the picture before the kids come in, then, the rest of the day is just about them learning, and they don't care what it looks like. They really don't. Like, you could put just paper over the table and they can come in there like, "Are we doing something fun today?" So I think it's more for Instagram when I do like the crazy stuff like that.
It's funny you say that. I just had a flashback to a time when I must have been sixth grade or something. I don't even know, maybe fifth or sixth grade. So we're dating myself. We're going back 30 years. And I walked into my classroom. It was fifth grade. And my teacher had just written on the chalkboard, "Welcome to Oz." And that was the entire decoration. And she said, "Okay, for the rest of the day today, we're going to pretend like we're in Oz and I'm the wizard." And in my mind, oh my gosh, there's a yellow brick road in here and there's a scarecrow. None of that stuff existed. I didn't see any of that. All I saw was "Welcome to Oz" on the chalkboard, but my head
Right.
immediately went there because you're right. The kids, they don't need all of that stuff. They just need the permission to say, be creative.
Or their
And
favorite thing is like if you give them sunglasses or a bandana, anytime there's a prop involved,
oh yeah,
they're bought into the character. Like they are now that character. So I try and always do some type of little prop or like a necklace with like a badge on it, something like that.
that's awesome. So what is your favorite? What's your favorite thing? If you could say, okay, administration, you can strip me of everything else, but this is the thing I'm fighting for.
Like what theme or just
Theme, character, whatever.
I mean, my favorite theme that we did was Toy Story, just because I think it was the most realistic and we like dressed up and everything. But
Hold on, you just said Toy Story is the most realistic. You realize it's a cartoon, right?
well, but it was like it looked the most realistic.
Gotcha. Okay.
My decorations and our
Okay.
costumes, all the stuff I had. But I guess in general, it would just be fun days like that. Like if they told me that I had to just follow the curriculum guide, we use like Engage New York or something. Like if I just had to stick to that and I couldn't do anything like out of the ordinary, then I think I would probably leave that school, just because I told them that from the get-go. Like when I interviewed there, I was like, "I like to do this." And they were like, "That's great. Do you?"
That's awesome. We put it out there. Good for you. Good for you. Engage New York is great, but it might not necessarily engage Cincinnati. So your responsibility is to the kiddos in your classroom. So that's awesome. So what's next for you? Because as we're filming this right now, we're recording this. We are in the midst of this pandemic where, I mean, you're on lockdown, having to teach your kids digitally, virtually, through distance. I mean, I can only imagine the struggle for somebody with the creative energies that you have. I mean, it's hard enough for me. What's going through your head right now? How are you managing?
Well, at first, we were still allowed in the building, so my teaching partner and I would make some YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And like we didn't post them all yet, but it was actually really funny. We kind of did like a mini transformation. We have these blue lights and we turned it into a glow day, and we were like enjoying it ourselves. But we just did some math activities, and then we made some more videos. But to be honest, like our kids aren't really watching the videos because they don't have the technology, or they don't have someone at home who's like, sit down and watch this video. We found that like 2 of them, I think the first time, watched the video out of 30. So the videos were kind of a fail, but we've just been sending home packets and stuff like that, kind of hoping for the best, hoping they're doing them. And other than that, we haven't, like, that sounds really lame because I know there's teachers out here doing crazy things on computers and Google Meet and all that, but our kids don't have the technology or the internet access for it. Yeah. So right now I am kind of losing my mind at home, just coming up with activities that they could do at home without a parent or guardian help is kind of hard.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's silver linings to all of this, because I guess I've got 4 kids, and part of my responsibility is to help them. And my version of helping them is not necessarily always all that helpful. It causes a lot of tension and causes a lot of stress and a lot of friction. So there's a part of me that wishes my kids didn't have this extra layer of responsibility to learn how to use Google Classroom and Zoom and Meet and all that stuff, because it's just adding to the anxiety. And my kids, I feel like, are losing out on that opportunity to just be kids and to play and to have those experiences. So I'm wondering, in this time right now, do you feel your creative juices just flowing and you're coming up with lots of ideas then for next year? Or are you able to just take a break and say, okay, I'm just going to breathe a little bit right now. I've worked hard.
A little bit of both, honestly. Okay. I have definitely taken a break, and, you know, sleeping in every morning is kind of nice, but I also have been thinking of things for next year. I made my whole curriculum map for next year, and then I kind of went back and I started looking at what transformations and themes I can do with which ones. But I've been making like stuff for teachers pay teachers and just random things. But overall, it definitely is a nice break, because we are not on this crazy technology kind of thing like all the rest of the world is.
So you said you worked on your curriculum map for next year. I mean, you don't just cut and paste exactly what you did this year and say, I'm going to do that next year?
Well, next year I'm looping with my kids back to 3rd grade, and this is the first year we did Engage New York. So they asked us, since we were home, to make our own curriculum maps with Engage New York. So like last year with 3rd grade, I used, I don't even know, Envision or something. So now it's like a whole new curriculum. So.
Okay. So next year then, are you coming up with brand new themes that your kids haven't been exposed to before? Or are you capturing the best of the best and saying, we're going to do this again?
I saved a lot of mine 3rd grade ones, and I didn't do it this year. So I didn't do Multiplication Monsters University, because that's obviously a 3rd grade standard. And then I didn't do a lot of the ones that I do at the end of the year. So like my pirate one, my construction one. So this is kind of a blessing, because now I can do them next year with the same group of kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I can only imagine how frustrated and angry some students would be to be in your class and not be able to experience the end of the year. Because I can only imagine spring in your class is epic. So knowing that you'll still be able to grab onto these kiddos next year probably gives you a little bit of pause, and okay, I can close those gaps. We can still have that experience. Gives them an ability to just breathe and know that they're not going to miss you. Because I know that's probably the hardest part, is not being able to say goodbye to the kids and not being able to see them. Knowing that you have them again next year, that's amazing. That's awesome.
It's definitely a blessing. I've seen a lot of people very upset on like Instagram, or people that I've talked to, and I guess I haven't really felt that way, because I know that I'll have those same kids next year.
Yeah.
And hopefully all the same kids, at least. I know kids come and go all the time, but
sure,
it'll be nice to have familiar faces.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're killing it. Number one, I love how just real and authentic you are. And you do everything with the right purpose and for the right reason. It's kid-centered, but yet you're also supportive of adults and trying to find that balance. I'm wondering, you don't have to answer this right now, do you ever see yourself leaving the classroom space and working with adults, leading them, guiding them, coaching them, instructing them somehow, some way, full time?
I don't know. I'm very awkward with like talking in front of adults. I have we combined with a high school class the other day because we're all in the same building. So it's nice when you're like friends with the teachers. So we had these high schoolers in to work with our kids, and I had to speak in front of all of them. And afterwards, the teacher pulled me aside and he said, "Are you okay? Your face is really red. What's wrong?" And I was like, those are big kids, you know?
They're like mini adults. Yeah.
He was looking at me, and he's like, "Well, what do your kids do?" I said, "They don't look at me." So I don't know that I necessarily see myself like teaching them or, presenting in front of them, but I would love to do kind of like a coaching thing. We have coaches at our school who come in and work with us like one-on-one or give us ideas. So I could definitely see myself doing something like that.
Yeah.
I love being in the classroom, and I don't think being a coach would help me, like, let me be as creative, I guess.
Oh, that's for sure. I feel like right now, I almost feel like you're doing the best of both worlds. You still get the kiddos, you can still be you and be creative, but yet because you found this, I hate to call it side hustle because it's not what it is. You are hustling on the side, but you're able to fill your passions through other lenses and other mediums. So it's almost like you're getting it all, so that's awesome. That's awesome. So what is next for you? Do you have anything brewing, anything big, or any ideas? Or are you truly just trying to sit for a little while?
I like the school that I'm at right now, and I like my teaching partner. I mean, we kind of joke, like, let me know when you quit, because I'll quit too. But I like where I'm at right now, and I guess what's next in life.
Even in Ohio? Hold on, you're comfortable living in Ohio?
Yeah, I'm not like a Bucks fan or anything, if that's gonna make you happier.
It does. Thank you. I should have just asked that at the front. Go ahead.
I don't care about the Bucks, but yeah, I guess what's next in life at some point would be kids, and I would hope that I want to stay in teaching, but I don't know.
Yeah, cross that bridge when you get there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, once that becomes a problem, then I'll think about it.
Awesome. Very cool. So, we've covered a lot. We've talked about your personal journey. We talked professionally. We've talked about what you're currently doing, what you're going to be doing. We've covered a lot. But I always try to leave these conversations by asking my guests to give me their I call it the mic drop moment. And that's, in essence, it's the thing that we're all going to remember you for, the thing that you want us to remember from this conversation. There might be some people listening to this as they're driving to work or while they're writing lesson plans or mowing the lawn. Who knows when they're listening to this or where. But I ask you to give your mic drop moment just so that we can resonate on whatever it is that you want to share as we wrap up here. Do you have anything that you want us to remember as we draw to a close?
Okay, yeah. I don't know that this is like a super big mic drop. It might just be like a mini mic drop.
That's all right. It's a lapel mic drop. Yeah, go ahead.
But it's kind of what we talked about earlier when you asked if I had people, who said mean things or didn't agree with what I was doing, because I think I get this question the most out of any question on Instagram. People will DM me and say, how do you deal with like other people's negativity or people that don't like what you're doing? And I didn't always know this. Like my first and second year, I did let them get to me. And if I did a room transformation, I would like shut the door. And if the kids were wearing sunglasses or something, I'd be like, oh, if you go to the bathroom, you have to leave your sunglasses here. Because I didn't want people to know what I was doing in my classroom. I was kind of like, they're going to judge me, all that stuff. But I think my third and fourth year, I realized that I'm a teacher for the kids. Like that's why I am here. So I would just say, don't let what other people say get to you. And, there's tons of quotes out there that say like, if they're talking behind your back, it's because they're behind you, or just silly things like that. But it really is, I think the hardest part of teaching is dealing with what other people think of you and doing what's best for your kids and like trying to balance that. So
yeah, that's good. I mean, we're in this profession where we are told to collaborate, to form professional learning networks, to work together, but oftentimes jealousy and petty differences just get in the way of that. And when you remember that you're in it for the kids, and adults might disagree or have their own opinions, but the bigger you go for kids, the better off you're going to be, because the better off they're going to be. You win every time. That's so good. So good. So let your kids wear their bandanas, let them wear their sunglasses, let your kids be kids, and just keep being you. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Courtney, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to do this. Selfishly, I appreciate it. I mean, it fills me up and gives me lots of ideas and inspires me. I'm sure it's going to have the same impact on the listeners out there. how can people connect with you if they do want to track you down and find you on social media?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram. It's just at MissCurtisClassroom. And I think that connects straight to my email too. So if they want to email me, YouTube comment, anything, I'm everywhere. So
There you are. Yep. And I'll have all those things tagged below. So if you're listening to this, just go to the show notes. You'll see it and connect with her. You will definitely be inspired. So Courtney, thank you again for doing this, and have yourself just an amazing rest of your day.
thank you.